I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the Finance Innovation Lab and particularly about our Financial Health Fellowship. And the way I'm going to do that is kind of just break down the two sides of that, so financial innovation and financial health, to just kind of explain why both of those things are important to us and why we're bringing them together. So why financial innovation? Why are we focused on that? The clue's in the name. The Finance Innovation Lab, we exist because we don't think the financial system as we have it now works particularly well for for customers quite often, for the real economy, for wider society and for the environment actually. And it is a service industry, it should serve them, it shouldn't be an end in itself. So we exist to change that. We don't think that is about tinkering. We think that's about wholesale transformation of the financial system. Our job, and we're a registered charity, so we work for public benefit, and the way that we work to change the financial system is by finding people who understand the need for change and are working towards that change and helping them do it, helping them get better at it. So we're effectively a bit of a catalyst. And working with financial innovators is absolutely core to that. Because if anyone's taken a look at the existing financial system, it tends to break. And actually, we can keep patching it up for a while, but ultimately we will need to shift to a new financial system. And we see the people who are building what we call socially useful innovation in finance as actually the people who are building the new system. And so we support them to do that. You'll notice I'm not saying fintech, I'm saying financial innovation. We say that deliberately, and the reason is that we don't see innovation as being confined to the tech side of finance. Actually, the tech is a tool, and I think Carl kind of echoed that. Really, what we're looking for in terms of innovation is innovation around the purpose of what you're doing. Are you actually thinking differently to the rest of the industry in terms of your business model? Your own motivation, are you doing this to get bought out and make a lot of money, or are you doing this to solve a problem for your customers or for wider society? And really in the way that you operate your business, your values, your culture, those are the kinds of innovations that we're interested in. Now these days it's very rare to be building a new financial business that doesn't have a tech aspect to it, but we use that term as a more inclusive term because there are people out there who are relatively lower tech but doing innovative stuff in the community finance sector. One of our jobs is actually to bring them together with people who are doing stuff that's more advanced in terms of tech and see what those partnerships can bring. Why we're applying this to financial health? Well, basically because we think this is a problem that's critical and it's wrong and it doesn't have to exist. When we talk about financial health, what we're really talking about is the overall state of somebody's finances. Do they have the financial situation that enables them to achieve their goals, that gives them a bit of a safety net if things go wrong, and that they feel in control of, actually, something that actually works for them rather than controlling their lives. To give you an example of why we think the situation at the moment is unacceptable, we have one of the leading, some people might say the leading financial sector in the world, and yet we have over 1.7 million people who do not have a bank account. They are outside the mainstream financial system. They cannot access the services that system should be providing for them. We have 40% of the population have savings of less than £100. That if something goes wrong, they do not have that safety net, and that just shouldn't be the case. We could, as a nation, we should do better than that. I think what really brought this home to me about what financial ill health does to someone is understanding the role of unfortunate events in a life when you do not have a financial safety net. If your washing machine breaks, and you have a kid at school and your washing machine breaks on a Saturday, and you have a choice between getting a new washing machine or sending that kid to school with dirty clothes on the Monday, but you can't get affordable credit, there is nothing that serves you within the financial system. What are you going to do? What choice are you going to make there? You're going to go to a high-cost credit lender. You're going to go to someone like Bright House. They will help you. They will solve that problem for you in the short term, and then they will profit exceptionally at your expense, and you will pay many multiples of the cost of that washing machine over and over again. And actually, in neither situation, you either send your kid to school in dirty clothes, or you actually get into a position where you owe huge amounts of money to that sort of exploitative lender. There is no dignity in either of those positions. And actually, financial health is something that is very closely linked, not just to dignity, but to your overall mental health, your physical health, to your life. Actually, this is not a peripheral issue. It can sound it, but actually this is something that can have a massive impact on your life. And so, and I know Rose will talk about mental health in particular after this. And so that's why we're trying to bring these two together and find new approaches, because at the moment actually we don't, while there's some really good stuff out there, we don't have approaches that are really working and that are really rooted in the wants and needs of people who are experiencing financial ill health. What Carl didn't give away in his wish list, which I'm really glad no one said was shit, because this is basically what we're doing. What Carl didn't give away was that we're working with Toynbee Hall on this so that we can actually connect the people who are taking part in our programme with people who either are experiencing or have experienced financial ill health, so that they can really root the products that they're developing in the realities of that person's lives, because those people are the experts actually. It doesn't matter how many stats or impressive things, you know, I can say or Carl can say. Actually, those are the people who know what's going to work and what's not going to work. The reason we are offering a support program for them is actually because we want them to change the way the financial system works, either through, you know, getting to a scale where they're genuinely disrupting the market head on, or actually in more subtle ways, like changing the story about what's possible to do, just changing the narrative about the way finance can work, but also changing our expectations and our norms about the way finance should work. What we're looking for are really early stage startups who have an idea that has that potential. It's not necessarily going to be the most attractive commercial proposition in its early stages because it's thinking differently, and that's one of the reasons why we actually want to work with these people to help them build their ideas and their startups. What we give them through this program, which is a 6-month program, is not tech support. And I mean, again, that's sort of why we talk about financial innovation, partly because there are some really great programs out there and organisations out there who can give you that. There's a really good infrastructure out there for sort of fintech vanilla style. What we give is based on our experience of supporting innovators over the past 9 years, 4 things that we think you really need to take a really different idea that's thinking outside the box and to make it successful in the early stages. And the first thing is really good strategy. You need to have a really effective foundation to your business that is rooted in your purpose. So we spend a lot of time working with people on purpose, because ultimately a lot of the existing financial infrastructure will pull you towards the way the mainstream works effectively. You know, if you want to get investment, if you want to get support, it will pull you towards it. If you've got your purpose rooted in to the core of your strategy, your culture, your team, even the way you communicate about your work, your brand, then actually you've got a much better chance of navigating your space in the financial system. When we bring in not consultants into that, but actually people who have gone through that process of trying to do that, trying to build a business, whether it's fintech, whether it's a more kind of traditional financial business, we bring them in to share actually the successes and the failures, because that's where you learn the most. The second thing is leadership, because actually if you have an idea that's very different in finance, what's going to happen is 9 people out of 10, 99 people out of 100 are going to tell you you're an idiot, it can't be done, you're an idealist, what are you talking about? And so actually having that personal resilience as a leader to not just take yourself but your team through that is one of the most important qualities you can have. But there are going to be things that you hit up against that you just can't change. The classic one being regulation that doesn't understand or work with your model. So we're not in any way anti-regulation, but we want regulation that works. And you know, I think we've seen plenty of examples of where it hasn't prevented bad things happening. So regulation, the behaviour of big incumbents, access to infrastructure like payment systems, those are things that no matter how good your idea and your strategy, and no matter how good you are as a leader, you can't solve those on your own. So one of the things we do is actually convene people to address those problems. And by doing that, we're not just benefiting the people inside the incubator, we're trying to sort of clear the way for other people to come through outside the incubator. finally, and for me this is the most important and the most rewarding part of what we do, if you're trying to do something really different in finance, a 6-month program is not going to take you to the end of the journey. A 6-year program probably isn't. You know, you're talking about decades of carving your way through this and trying to stay on track and trying to make the change you wanted to change. We can't be with you all the way through the journey, but we bring you together with 12 to 15 people who can, and we teach you to coach each other, not to offer each other advice, which we're all really, really good at, and we tend to do it immediately after we've heard the problem and not find what the actual problem is, which is generally about 20 layers under. So we teach groups of our fellows actually how to diagnose, how to get to the root causes of problems, and how to help the person who has the problem find the answer themselves. And that happens to be an incredibly bonding experience as well when you started digging down into things together. And so what we get coming out of the program is, towards the end of the program, we're not doing the supporting anymore, it's the community. And that's the thing that carries on long after our program has finished, and that's the thing that feeds into the wider Finance Lab community actually. We've got one previous fellow here actually, Joseph Hatch, so he can tell you if I'm lying or not, to be honest. I don't think I'm lying, but anyway, you know, so we have this ongoing community that doesn't just contain fellows, but actually contains all the people that we can find and support, even if it's as simple as raising awareness or connecting you into someone who can help solve your problem. So this is my promotional plug bit. If you would like to be part of that community, if you have something and you would like the support to develop that, or you know someone who would, or you have a network that you think actually there are people in there who may be interested in getting the support, then deadline for applications is 10th of April. So basically what I would say is you've got about a week and a half to get something in, and we would really love to hear from you.